and welcome back to Coach Craig Sports. Today we're going to be looking at the Lions' new head coach, Dan Campbell, talking about this hiring, kind of his history as a coach, and the staff that he's putting around him so far, and whether or not I think it's going to be a good hire. But without further ado, we'll get into it. We'll talk a little bit about Dan Campbell and his background. Obviously, he was an NFL player for 11 seasons, as you can see on the screen. He played for the Cowboys, the Giants, the Lions, and the Saints. He spent 3 years in Detroit, so he does know about this city. He does know about the culture that's been there. That was a big talking point if you guys saw his press conference. If you did see his press conference, it was quite the interesting one, honestly. Talking about biting off kneecaps, but the whole message was they're going to build a team that's going to fight for this city. They're going to fight to represent them, and they're really going to play hard. They're going to give this city something to root for. That's what he wanted to say. Some of his answers were long-winded and a little out there, but he had the right idea behind it. Sometimes the words didn't come out the best. We'll see how that relates on the field, but, definitely a former player mentality there. Then he started his coaching career with the Miami Dolphins in 2010 as the coaching intern. 2011 and 2015, he was the tight ends coach there. Makes sense since he did play tight end in the NFL. In 2015, he was surprisingly announced as the interim head coach after head coach Joe Philbin was fired. He went 5-7 that season with them. Then he went on to the Saints as the assistant head coach and tight ends coach there from 2016 until, obviously, most recently he was hired with the Lions. Like I said, he did play with the Lions from 2006 to 2008, so there is that connection there. It's kind of interesting, though, that this was the only job that he was interviewed for. So some people might say the Lions were a little bit desperate, or maybe this was just really their guy and he didn't want to go anywhere else. But apparently he said to his agent, make sure he gets in that, make sure to get him in the room with the Lions. One important aspect to look at is somebody who actually wants to be there, that understands the franchise, the history, and the people of that city as well. So definitely a plus there. I think this is a hire that could go a couple different ways. He's got that very strong mentality. We're going to outwork you. We're going to outgrind you. We're going to keep on punching. Even when we get knocked down, we're going to get back up. Kind of what the Lions need, especially on that defense. They've been pretty bad. And that's what the last head coach, Matt Patricia, was brought in to improve, was that defense. And it didn't happen. And that's why he's not there anymore. But it's also important to note that the Lions and Matt Stafford mutually agreed that it would be in each party's best interest to move on. So you'll probably see Matthew Stafford traded at some point this offseason. Hopefully they get a decent return for him as they rebuild at quarterback and a couple other positions that they're going to need some help with. But also with that being said, the Lions hired a new GM, and that was Brad Holmes. He was the former Rams director of scouting. He was in the Rams organization for 18 years. A good young mind for that GM job. He's somebody that I kind of did like. I think it's a very good hiring for them. Then they brought in Chris Spillman, who's going to have a role in the front office as well. Most recently, I believe he worked with NBC. But, a guy that played in the league, kind of understands the league as a whole. Definitely another good mind to have in there. And then recently they announced that John Dorsey, the former Chiefs GM, is going to take over as a senior personnel executive. So somebody in the front office that has a lot of experience there as well. Definitely rebuilding this front office of the Detroit Lions. Martha Ford made all the decisions for a long time. I don't want to knock her too much, but some of them were questionable. You've seen what the franchises look like in recent history. Her daughter has since taken over, and she's kind of reshaping the organization, and it's headed in the right direction, I think. So next we're going to talk about some of the assistants that are being brought in now under head coach Dan Campbell. First off, we got Aaron Glenn. He's 48 years old. He is a former NFL cornerback. He played in the NFL from 1994 to 2008, so he's around for 14, 15 years in the NFL. Very, very talented player. Most notably with the Jets and the Texans and then a couple teams after that. I remember him from the early Texans days. He was one of the first Pro Bowlers we ever had, so definitely good to see him get a job as a defensive coordinator. He started his coaching career in 2014 and 2015. He was the assistant defensive backs coach for the Browns. And then from 2016 until he was hired as defensive coordinator, he was the defensive backs coach for the New Orleans Saints. So definitely a guy that has a lot of football experience, a bright young mind, and I think he's going to do a very good job reshaping this defense. I would not be surprised if they brought in more experienced defensive line or linebacker coach to go along with him as he transitions to the process of defensive coordinator. Then on the offensive side of the ball, they're bringing over Anthony Lynn. You guys probably know him as the former Chargers head coach. While he wasn't a great head coach, he's still a very good offensive coordinator who had some success as the Bills offensive coordinator as well. Previous stops as running back coach before that. I think he's definitely a good guy to come in here, build this team up on offense, especially with the young players that they do have. DeAndre Swift, TJ Hawkinson. You're going to have a new quarterback to mold here. Obviously, you've seen him have some success helping grow Justin Herbert in his first year. How much of that was due to Anthony Lynn remains to be seen, but definitely another opportunity for him here. Then Deuce Staley is going to come over as the assistant head coach and running back coach. He's coming over from the Eagles, who chose not to retain him after hiring their new head coach, which we'll be talking about in a future video. He is 45 years old. Obviously, he's a former Eagles running back. He's been with the Eagles since 2011 as the running back coach and assistant head coach role. So definitely somebody that's been around for a while. Definitely somebody that can help mold DeAndre Swift and the other running backs that they do have on the roster. And then last but not least, we have a new offensive line coach, Hank Fraley. And he was previously the assistant offensive line coach, so far he's the only remaining assistant that stayed on staff. So he actually got a little bit of promotion here. He's 43 years old. He was an NFL lineman from 2000 to 2010. I think he's going to do a great job once again. But that's it with the assistants that have been hired so far. Like I said, this is a hiring that could be very, very hit or miss. A lot of times these guys that come in, these kind of, I don't even want to call him a tough coach because I think he's going to be a player's coach, but he's going to preach toughness, durability, strength, outworking your opponent. A lot of times you can wear players out over a couple seasons like that, and those coaches tend to flame out. Whether or not that's the case remains to be seen for here. I think it's a good hiring in the sense that you have somebody that wants to be here, knows the value of this city, knows the value of this team, wants to change the program, and is going to get the right players, the right coaches in to do that job. So from that aspect, hiring him, hiring the new GM, hiring all the people in the front office, bringing in defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn, bringing in a former head coach, offensive coordinator, and Anthony Lynn. I think you got a lot of the right pieces here. It might be a little bit of a rebuilding process, losing Matthew Stafford, potentially losing Kenny Galladay, Marvin Jones, and Danny Amendola as wide receivers as well. They're all free agents. And rebuilding and retooling that defense. Lions fans, I am optimistic that this hiring can work out. I know there is some downside to it as well, though. But just be patient. They're not going to change the whole team overnight. But this is a 2 to 3 year process. If they can get it right, they're going to have a good, solid product on the field. But with that being said, I'm very, very interested in your guys' thoughts. Be sure to leave them down in the comments. If you're a Lions fan, be sure to let me know. Say, hey, I'm a Lions fan. I think this is a good hiring. Or I think this is not a not so good hiring. Personally, I thought Robert Saleh would go to Detroit, Detroit native. But he decided to go with the Jets. I know a lot of you Lions fans really wanted Robert Saleh. I thought it'd be a great fit, fix that defense, bring in a young quarterback, kind of build up that team for the future. But you could still have that happen with Dan Campbell and this coaching staff. If you guys are new to my channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports. And that's really one for you, the viewers. Talking fantasy football, talking all the football news. Like I said, we're going to be talking some baseball news, some fantasy baseball as we move forward to baseball season as well. But with that being said, if you're a new or current subscriber is yet to do so, also hit that notification bell down below. It'll let you know every single time I post up a new video. And with that being said, tomorrow's video is going to be about the new Eagles head coach, Nick Sirianni. He's kind of an unexpected hiring, but we'll talk a little bit more about him, the implications it might have on their franchise, who they're bringing in as assistants, and kind of go from there. But once again, I really appreciate you guys tuning into this video. Just taking the time out of your day. And I really hope you have a great rest of your day. And like I said, be sure to leave your thoughts down in the comments whether or not you think this is a good or a bad hire for the Detroit Lions.